Welcome back to DieCash Cars. So today guys, we are going to be doing a wheel swap. Now I know there are a number of really good Hot Wheel customizers already on YouTube, and there's plenty of DIYs out there for Hot wheel swapping, but wanted to give you guys my rendition of it. A very simplified version of wheel swapping on cars, especially for those beginners that just want to get a nice set of rail riders on a particular cast that maybe they're very fond of. And I thought, what better casting to do this wheel swap with than the Pagani Zonda R first edition for 2022, recently claimed the #1 best new model for 2022 per the Lamley polls. And guys, I hate to say it, but I called it back in September when I first found this on the pegs. I opened it up and I knew immediately that this was the best new model for 2022, and it definitely came to be within the polls, guys. But man, if you just look at this thing, the details, the lines, I mean, just look at that top aerial view of the car. I mean, they got all the mini details accurate on this thing. The body arches, the lines, the indentations to the side of the car. What I think is really interesting about this car too is that front splitter. I don't know if you guys can see, but they even put a little notch within the base to mimic the tow hook in the front there. And then the rear end, I mean, this just speaks for itself, guys. I mean, so much detail and clarity going on there. Got the mid exhaust towards the center of the rear, and then so discreetly did they create the spoiler, which is all metal. It's casted into the body, but it's subtly attached to the car. If you guys can see that, it's actually connected to the car to give it that rigidity that this cast would need for a spoiler that is so intricate, such as this. I mean, just an amazing cast, and I'm assuming that Pagani would only let Hot Wheels make this cast if they could hit a certain threshold of quality and accuracy, and Hot Wheels nailed it. I mean, talk about bang for your buck. At $1.18, I'd buy this car all day. So now that we have the perfect cast set up for this wheel swap, the next is identifying a set of rail riders to put onto it. So I thought, what better than to utilize the gift from Mrs. DieCash, the Rail Riders set 2 from Mattel Creations. Again, appreciate it, Mrs. DieCash. We're going to put them to some good use today. And the wheels I selected from that set were these CE28 replicas, 10 spokes in dark bronze, which, looking through Hot Wheels Wiki, are the only release of this color for these wheels, so somewhat one-off, guys. And it's gonna go onto this Pagani Zonda R. A couple of reasons why I chose these wheels. So first and foremost, the color of these wheels matches this bronze pinstripe on the car pretty much to a T. On top of that, one thing when you do wheel swaps is you want to make sure that the length of the axle matches the length on the actual car itself. So you can see these wheels, both axles are identical, and it does match up to the wheelbase on the actual car that you're swapping. So perfect match across the board. In real life, the Pagani Zonda R has 16 spoke wheels in a somewhat dark bronze or gold color as well too, but I think from a Hot Wheels 164 an official Rail Rider standpoint, this is probably going to be your best bet. So step number 1 is you got to have the proper tools, starting with a power drill. And the first bit that we're going to use to drill out the rivets is a 532. I guess one little key tip for me is I like to use the drill bits with the little starter tip at the front. That just helps secure the drill bit so that it's drilling directly into the rivet and doesn't shift while you're going at it. Alright, I'm all done drilling that first rivet out, so I'll give you guys a quick look at it. And you want to be, again, as dead center on that rivet as possible. You want as little contact with the drill bit, with the base, because you want to keep it as clean as possible. As you can see, I didn't do a great job, but it definitely is undone here. And how you know for sure that you're in the clear is this tiny little circle Usually if you did it very accurately, this would be a full circle, but usually this little ring will pop off, and that's when you know you're home free as far as the connection between the base and the body. So let me get my screwdriver here, and what I like to do is, again, take my flat. I like to put a little bit of electrical tape at the edge here just so that I don't dent any of the paint, but I just pry it into the front end, and there you go. You can see the front rivet is off. So now it's on to the rear. And the rear is all set now, and I'll admit that took a little bit more work than I thought. So again, I didn't get that perfect ring, not even a half moon of a ring, but just a bunch of fragments of metal this time, and I'll just kind of show you guys what that looks like. I had to dig in a little deeper than I wanted to, and the thing with these rivets is you want to maintain as much material as possible because we are going to rivet these back together, and hopefully I'm still able to get some kind of connection here when I throw the rivet on, because I had to drill in pretty deep into that rivet to get this to come loose. But let's just get the flathead here, and again, I had to put a new piece of electrical tape on it. Just dig it right in between the base and the body, and just like that we have a loose car. So now that we have the car apart, so again, we got all the pieces here, it's time to do the wheel swap. So with the car fully unassembled, it's time to take these stock wheels off. So I think one thing to note is that the axles of the wheels are held on by these little finger tabs, front and rear. So what you want to do is just break out your flathead screwdriver, and again, I use a pocket one just because the flathead itself is a little bit thinner. You can kind of wedge it right between the fingers, and again, just very lightly. And again, you don't want to damage those fingers because we're going to reuse them when we put the realriders on. But you can see all I did was just kind of wedge it in there, create a little space. Stock wheels pop right out. Then the same deal with the back. A little bit different of an orientation. It's kind of a top and bottom deal here, but again, dig it in, wedge it out, and then again, stock wheels pop right out. And the finger tabs are still intact, and they're pretty malleable, so you will be able to just push them right back over the realriders. I guess one thing I'll point out too is if you do break any of these tabs, it's not a huge deal, because the cool thing is the interior of the car does sit right back down on this area. So even if you break the tabs, I mean, this will hold down your wheels. So not a huge loss there. So let's get the realriders and just see how they work. So this is the front set here. You can see it pops right in just like it should. Just close the finger tabs back up. And again, just light pressure. Again, you don't want to break the tabs. So that's the front. And then let's finish off the rear end. Alright, we should be all set here. Alright, so the wheels are on the car, and even just on the base it looks pretty awesome in that dark bronze. I mean, that is going to be a great combination. So after you get the wheels on, the fingers are firmly pressed in place. It's just time to reassemble the car back together, starting with the interior. Drop that right over the axles, it'll snap in place. You got the limo tent window, and then the body of the car. And guys, this thing looks amazing. Snap it in place, and there it is. And in all honesty, guys, you could probably leave the car just like this. You don't actually have to rivet it. But again, here on DieCash Cars, we like to try to be as official as possible, so let's get started. So to get this car riveted back together, I like to use a set of micro 256 screws, in which you'll need to drill out a pilot hole first. And for that, I use a 5/64 drill bit followed by a 256 tap. And again, I use a manual tap just to control the power and force so that I don't overstrip the rivet holes. So the first pilot hole is all set. As you can see, that's what it should like, just a nice clean cylinder drilled right into where the rivet should be. And then now let's get the rear end done. So now it's time to tap into the rivet holes, and again, you're going to want to use that 5/64 tapping screw, and we'll start with the front end here. So again, nice and steady, guys, right through the cylinder that the pilot hole drilled into. And you're just going to want to give it a nice solid firm twist down. And again, you don't want to strip it. Once you start feeling a little bit feedback to the bottom of that pilot hole, that's when you can stop. So again, it was about 1.5 turns there. And then you don't want to yank out the bit either. You want to slowly unscrew it out. That way you're not ruining any of the threads. So again, if you take a look inside, you can see that there are threads in there. So let's test fit some of our screws just to make sure that our threads are functioning properly. And these particular screws do utilize an Allen head. So you're going to want to just make sure you have a 5/64 Allen head. So it's the tiniest key ever. But luckily within my toolbox I did have one. And then you're just going to want to twist that down. And it screws into place. Fits like a glove, guys. And once you hear that click, guys, that's it. It's in. It's not coming out. There we go. Perfect. So on to the rear end, same process. So the rear end is all tapped in. Let's put the rivet screw on. And again, same process. And just like that, the wheel swap is all set, guys. I'll show you guys the base here. You can see both rivets, front and rear, are in. The car is secure. That base is not leaving that body. And the wheels look great. It rolls well, as you can see, guys. I mean, this is the perfect swap. And after getting all those metal filings off my table, I had to get this bad boy up on the turntable just to show you guys how well these wheels complement this cast, just highlighting all those details that are so crisp on this Zonda R. Man, it almost looks realistic. And currently on the secondary market, a custom wheel swap Pagani Zonda R like this would cost you anywhere from $15 to $20, which in all honesty, guys, that just feels way too steep. And I'll let you guys in on a secret here. When you do this wheel swap by yourself, you appreciate these cars so much more, to the point where the value of this car is priceless. I mean, I just gave you all the steps and referenced all the tools you need to do a custom wheel swap like this for yourself, guys. So definitely don't pay secondary market prices for someone else's custom. That's what I got for you guys today. Let me know what you think of my custom. And let me know what kind of wheel swaps and customs you're working on in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time on DieCash Cars.